Nowadays, with no shortage of cape and cowl movies being released each year, it's easy to take for granted what filmmakers like Richard Donner and Tim Burton did for the superhero genre. Prior to their decade-apart DC superhero epics, the form was largely viewed by the mainstream as stuff meant to distract the little ones and shut-ins. This seemed especially true for Batman. But if Donner made people believe a man could fly, Burton made them believe he could also be psychotic enough to dress up as a bat and beat up crazy clowns.
You can call me Joker.
Batman was more than a hit movie in 1989. It was a pop culture phenomenon that could be felt on every t-shirt, poster, and trading card being hawked that summer. As the film buried the Adam West image of the Caped Crusader, Batman proved to a global audience that the story of Bruce Wayne could be one filled with brooding trauma and fantastical daydreams that crept into our nightmares. It outgrossed Ghostbusters 2 as well as Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade that summer. It went on to be the highest grossing film of all time up to that point, with over $400 million made worldwide. It's no surprise then that Warner Brothers fast-tracked a sequel, putting Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian on permanent vacation, and the dream team of Tim Burton and Michael Keaton were back for more with 1992's Batman Returns. That movie was a saturating force in pop culture as well, appearing on lunchboxes, backpacks, and of course, McDonald's Happy Meals. It also grossed an undeniably profitable $266 million in worldwide box office receipts. Nevertheless, the hue of Batman's signal in the sky experienced substantial and immediate changes. Within a relative short span of 3 years, which marked the distance between Batman Returns and Batman Forever, the series not only underwent a facelift, but had a full-on reboot before the world even existed in Hollywood lexicon. Michael Keaton became Val Kilmer. The Art Deco hellscape that was Anton Furst and Bo Welch's Gotham City became an Andy Warhol-inspired Las Vegas party on steroids, and Tim Burton's tearful angst for the mythology's rotating cast of freaks turned into Joel Schumacher's toyetic Happy Meal generator. In fact, if it weren't for the inclusions of Michael Gough as Alfred Pennyworth and Pat Hingle as the perpetually underused Commissioner Gordon, there would be nothing to connect Batman Forever with the two films that came before it. And that is exactly the way Warner Brothers wanted it. Tim Burton's Batman 3 never happened because of the reaction to Batman Returns, which was swift and brutal throughout the press. The screenwriter to Batman Returns, Daniel Waters, said he was aware of the potential backlash immediately. As a subversive voice who made his bones on the cult classic dark comedy about teen murder and suicide, Heathers, Waters was one of the driving forces that turned the sequel into a near fable about the sameness of freaks, be them cats or bats. And recalling the first time he saw the movie with an average audience for the 2005 documentary Shadow of the Bat Part 4, Dark Side of the Night, Waters said,
"It was always great. The lights coming up after Batman Returns, and it was like, kids crying, people acting like they'd been punched in the stomach and like they'd been mugged. But part of me relished that reaction, and part of me, like, to this day, like, oops,
For the same documentary, director Burton also seemed bemused and baffled by the mixed reactions 13 years later.
One person would come in and go, "Oh, this is so much lighter than the first movie." And the next person would come in and go, "Oh, this is so much darker than the first movie." And it's like, well, light and dark are, they're opposites. So it's like, how can something be, and it was like 50% passionately one way, passionately the other. And I thought, this is an odd dynamic. This is quite interesting.
The most infamous fallout from this bitter buzz came on the merchandising side of Batman Returns, which, like the box office, took a noticeable hit. But the financials were the least of it when the PR for WB's bat-shaped golden calf became factored in. And it started with those dang Happy Meals. Batman Returns opened on June 19, 1992, and before the 4th of July weekend, the Los Angeles Times was famously publishing angry letters over the content of the film and its connection to McDonald's. One angry letter dated June 27, 1992 said, "Violence-loving adults may enjoy this film, but why on earth is McDonald's pushing this exploitative movie through the sales of its so-called Happy Meals? Has McDonald's no conscience?" Putting such irony over faith in an international corporate conglomerate responsible for the McNugget aside for a moment, the backlash to the Happy Meals soon spanned all major media outlets. An Entertainment Weekly article published in July of that year quoted the Dove Foundation, a Michigan-based non-secular Christian organization, as saying, "Parents trust McDonald's. So why is McDonald's promoting a movie to little kids that's filled with gratuitous graphic violence?" The most humorous thing about this public relations nightmare is how both McDonald's and Warner Brothers attempted to downplay the fiasco. Many years later, after the aforementioned 2005 Shadows of the Bat documentary, scripter Sam Hamm, whose screenplay for Batman Returns got thrown out for Waters' work, graciously defended the movie from aggravated parents.
The movie itself, apart from, being a merchandising machine, apart from all the toy sales that it's supposed to generate, the movie itself was never presented as, a child-friendly movie. And so I just think it's a mistake of perception. I think, the parents who complained just got it wrong.
Be that as it may, it did not mean heads weren't ready to roll at Warner Brothers. As early as late July 1992, WB executives were allowing themselves to be anonymously quoted as unhappy with the diminished box office performance of Batman Returns, which cost $45 million or more to make than the 1989 film. That cost $35 million unto itself. Initially, Tim Burton was still expected to return to what was being called Batman 3 in the trades. There were even reports that Robin Williams was expected to play the Riddler for Burton's third Batman film. More on that in a moment. As well as the return of Michelle Pfeiffer in her iconic role as Catwoman. However, all of these rumors should be taken with a grain of salt, since Burton never made the scripting stage for Batman 3. And with Tim Burton out, Warner Brothers was free to tap Joel Schumacher to helm the next Batman movie with the understanding that it would be much more toy and Happy Meal friendly. For the children and their parents, of course. However, Michael Keaton did not leave immediately with Tim Burton. Indeed, he was slated to return in what became Batman Forever rather late into its 1994 production. And yes, Robin Williams, who was famously shafted by WB when they used him as a negotiating chip against Jack Nicholson for the role of the Joker in the 1989 film, was in line to play the Riddler going into 1994. According to a 1995 Variety article, Williams dithered too long after the role was offered, and rising star Jim Carrey, coming off Ace Ventura and The Mask, stepped into the role. It has never been clarified if Williams disliked the script and direction Schumacher was developing, or if Carrey and his agent pulled one over on the legendary actor. But quite honestly, Mr. Williams' legacy probably benefited from it. Also of note for not appearing in Batman Forever were actors Billy D. Williams and Marilyn Wayans. Williams had famously been cast as Harvey Dent in the original 1989 Batman film, with the expectation to play Dent's twisted and tragic alter ego Two-Face in a later-on installment. However, Wayans did get paid for not appearing in Batman Forever. Having originally been cast by Burton to appear as Robin in Batman Returns, Wayans was cut from the already crowded film. However, when Schumacher came in for the third Batman movie, the decision came down for Robin to be played by Chris O'Donnell. In 2009, Wayans told IO9, "I still get residual checks." Tim Burton didn't wind up doing 3, Joel Schumacher did it, and he had a different version for who Robin was. So he hired Chris O'Donnell. And like that, there coincidentally was no more major parts played by African Americans in the Batman franchise. Keaton, meanwhile, famously threw the movie into upheaval when he departed Batman Forever less than a year before its release. In a July 1994 Entertainment Weekly article, an insider said he wanted $15 million. He wanted a chunk of the gross, he wanted a chunk of merchandising. While possible, this seems like typical studio tactics to throw shade on an individual during a messy breakup. Keaton's producing partner, Harry Colby, countered, money was never the issue. Not doing this movie means he probably gave up $30 million based on his back-end deal. After Keaton departed, Rene Russo, who had been cast only 1 week prior to Keaton's exit, was replaced with Nicole Kidman in the role of Dr. Chase Meridian, because she was perceived as too old to be Val Kilmer's love interest. The rest, as they say, is history, but perhaps it was for the best. A third Tim Burton Batman movie could, in theory, have starred Robin Williams in a role just as depraved as Jack Nicholson's Joker and Danny DeVito's Penguin, and opposite a returning Pfeiffer who's so perfect for the part of Catwoman that I couldn't resist the pun. Then again, if not for Batman Forever's successor, the infamous Batman and Robin mega-flop, the series would not have so embarrassingly and spectacularly imploded. Ergo, there might not have been something brilliant but dormant for Christopher Nolan's reboot in 2005 into the masterful The Dark Knight trilogy. In that sense, it may have been for the best, but it never hurts to wonder in lieu of a neon backlit Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones doing a Benny Hill routine.